Ever listen to a song from decades ago and think, wow, that could have been written yesterday? Well, we're about to do just that. We're going to take a classic Bob Dylan track from 1983 of all years and use it as a lens to understand the wild world of modern politics and power. It's surprisingly relevant. Right out of the gate, Dylan drops this bombshell. It's not just a clever opening line. That's the whole argument of the song in a nutshell. He's laying it all out right there. This is a warning about power without limits and where that road ultimately leads. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the big, universal idea in the song. Then we'll zoom in on the specific character Dylan describes. After that, we'll connect it to some very modern rhetoric before pulling back out to ask what this all means for the idea of permission today. Okay, first things first. We have to get our heads around the song's pretty bleak central argument. This idea that we are the architects of our own destruction. At its core, the song is all about what you could call destructive capacity. Think of it like this. Our ability to build powerful things, whether it's technology or a political movement, is like a supercar. But our wisdom, our moral compass, well, that's still learning to drive with a learner's permit. The power always seems to outpace the restraint. And this line? This is just incredible. He takes the moon landing, arguably one of humanity's most triumphant moments of achievement, and he completely flips it. He calls it step one on the road to our own doom. It's a shocking way to say that maybe our greatest strengths are also our greatest weaknesses. So who's the person driving us toward this doom? Dylan doesn't leave it abstract. He paints a very specific picture of the kind of man who gets this license to kill. Let's break down what makes this guy tick. Here's our first major clue into his mindset. And obviously, this isn't about him needing glasses, right? This is about his fundamental relationship with the truth. What Dylan is describing here is a worldview where my truth becomes the only truth. It's about a complete rejection of a shared objective reality. If he sees it, if he feels it, then it's real. And if facts get in the way, well, too bad for the facts. I mean, what an image. The metaphor here is just perfect. He's not praying to some god or upholding some grand ideal. The only thing he worships is himself. And that stagnant pool is key. Stagnant means nothing new gets in, nothing fresh can change it. It's a totally closed system. He looks at his own reflection and thinks, yep, perfect. That's all the validation he needs from the world. And here's the twist. You'd think this guy would be a titan of confidence, but Dylan says, nope. Deep down, he's afraid and confused. The song suggests that all that outward aggression, that need for destruction, isn't coming from a place of strength. It's a mask for total inner chaos. Okay, so we've got this incredible, timeless character sketch from 1983. Now let's jump in our time machine, fast forward to today, and see if any of this sounds, well, familiar. So to make this concrete, we're going to use Donald Trump's political style as a modern case study. And let's be really clear. The point here isn't to be partisan. It's to see his rhetoric as a very clear, very potent example of the domination narrative that Dylan was diagnosing all those years ago. A style where everything's about winning and weakness is the only sin. And it's pretty wild how neatly these things line up. Seriously, look at this. Dylan's line, he wants it all and he wants it his way, that's a perfect description of a political view where everything is a zero-sum game of winning or losing. Then you have his eyes tell him lies, which connects directly to a style that values gut feelings over hard facts. The idea of being opposed to fair play, that mirrors a rhetoric where things like compromise and restraint are painted as weakness. And finally, that afraid and confused part. Well, you can read that as the hidden engine behind all the outward aggression. But this all begs a much bigger question. Is this kind of person a one-off, an anomaly? Or is Dylan pointing to a dangerous trap that's built into the very nature of modern power? This is really the core of it, I think. Is the song just a portrait of one specific kind of person? Or is it a warning about a kind of gravitational pull that power has on anyone who holds it? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The constant pressure to look strong, to have all the answers, to never back down. Could any leader, no matter their political beliefs, start to feel that temptation once they're given the license to lead? The song suggests it's a logic that's hard to escape once you're in the game. And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle. We have to talk about that central word in the song, the license. What does that even mean in the 21st century? See, back in '83, a license was probably something official, a piece of paper from the government. But today,
Oh man, the way people get permission to act and to lead is so much more complicated. You can almost break it down into 4 different types. You've still got the classic legal license, official authority. But then you have cultural license. That's when the culture just sort of decides, hey, this is okay now. Then there's the algorithmic license. That's the permission that social media gives when it decides to blast one voice to millions. And maybe the most powerful of all, the crowd license. That raw, undeniable permission that comes from the roar of a rally.
And this is where it all comes together. The Trump phenomenon is a fascinating look at how these new forms of license, the cultural, the algorithmic, and especially the crowd, can combine to create a sense of permission that feels even more real and more potent than any formal legal authority. Which leaves us right back where the song began, with its chilling final question. In a world where permission is granted by clicks, by culture, by the energy of a crowd, the woman on my block is still there asking the single most important question. Who takes away the license now?